Good evening, everybody, and thank you all very much for joining us here at the National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame. Tonight's event, Amplifying the Future of Racing, is really about spreading awareness of educational, workforce, and international opportunities across our industry. It is of the utmost importance for us to proactively engage in educational and workforce initiatives, again, not just for the short term coming out of COVID-19, but in sustainable and strategic ways to ensure the longevity of this sport that we all love.
I am really passionate about education in the thoroughbred industry, and a lot of that is because of my own path that I had to navigate when getting into the industry. We all kind of had to navigate this long, winding path, and you might sort of stumble upon horse racing by turning it on TV or seeing a movie, or maybe you visited the track for the first time with a parent. But then what is the next step from there? You know, where exactly are we directing our youth to actually actively engage them in the industry and then give them that next step to pursue a career, or maybe eventually someday consider becoming an owner, or just becoming a fan of the sport is also really, really powerful. So we wanted to amplify all of the educational programs that there are state by state, make sure that there are touch points in a variety of states, but then connect them and fill in the gaps from there. Amplify welcomes newcomers, enhances existing educational initiatives, and develops new resources to lead the thoroughbred industry into the future. Because thoroughbred racing is not just a sport of kings, it is a sport for everyone. We want it to be inclusive and accessible, regardless of what background somebody has coming into it, or where they live, whether they grew up next to a track or a farm, or whether they grew up, never having touched a horse and now they want to get involved. Amplify has the privilege of being a U.S. affiliate, and I'm a U.S. steering committee member for Together for Racing International. And this is an umbrella organization that assists racing globally to contribute to society by improving the lives of its people and communities, which is a very big statement. But boiling that down, the way that it really started was in 2019, Godolphin brought together 6 different racing nations to talk about where people were struggling when it came to education and workforce, how are we engaging with our communities, what can we do to share ideas and work collectively as an entire racing world to be able to bolster all of these different areas. And so the result of that was Together for Racing International.
I just really had the most amazing job of figuring out new ways to foster growth and make change within the thoroughbred industry. We tackle things from aftercare to workforce to education. We look at a global scale, and we look at our own communities and figure out ways to go in and make change. We are really excited to unveil a new program that TFRI has fostered, and that is the TFRI Sister Cities Student Exchange Program. Lexington, Kentucky is a sister city to 4 other cities. The Sister Cities program actually started back in the 1950s with Lexington and Deauville, France. The thoroughbred is what brought them together, the horse, but they started realizing there was so much travel between the 2 cities that culturally, through education, they could partner together and become sister cities. Soon, County Kildare was added in Ireland, and Newmarket, England, and now Japan has been added as well. So Remy Balick had the idea to bring the racing schools and graduates of those racing schools together to potentially apply for exchange programs to go and work in new countries, ages 18 to 25, that have graduated from either the BCTC Equine program, which is our racing school, that's in Lexington, Kentucky, with Race in Ireland, the British Racing School in England, and then AFASEC, which is in France. So graduates of those programs can apply for an exchange in one of the 4 countries. And this is just a great way to create those networks that help bring us together and make us stronger, but also provide these opportunities for these students.
My job really focuses on the employer side of things and looking at how the industry, both racing and non-racing, can really bolster the enthusiasm that individuals have to come into this industry, specifically for working. This workforce challenge that we're facing as a nation is not something that happened overnight, and therefore some of the solutions and hopefully the turning around of that workforce crisis is also not going to happen overnight. So we have less and less people that are exposed to the industry, specifically the racing industry, than they were previously, and so it is the industry partially's responsibility to then be able to bring that industry to people who have never had exposure to it, which is a lot of what's been talked about already tonight. There's 2 open positions for every 1 American right now, and so even if we filled all those positions with every single person in the U.S. between the ages of 16 and 65 that could work, we still have open positions. The population is simply not there anymore. A lot of our managers have gotten to the positions that they have because they're great horsemen or great horsewomen, and they've been in the industry for a long time. They have a lot of knowledge, but they may not have been properly trained on how to manage staff. And so they are not always strategically good at helping people advance their careers, whether it's in their farms or their operations or within the industry. So we have helped the industry really identify career pathways, that you are not just hiring a groom, you are hiring a future barn manager or division manager or a future, veterinary technician, etc. So we are really trying to create actionable steps for upward movement of people in different positions. We've had to really kind of have a mind shift for a lot of our employers to think outside the box in what is normally a very traditional industry. And we've had a lot of employers that have really stepped up to the plate and have made some really neat movements to better their facilities, but also to really engage different populations that they hadn't strategically done before, which is really neat to see.
Each and every one of these initiatives are incredibly important for the future success, the sustainability of our sport. But none of them matter much if people like you don't know about them, right? We have to have buy-in and commitment from our industry for any of them to be successful, and it starts with you all.